Good morning, everyone, and welcome to the Entrepreneur Factory weekly Monday version of our podcast. Boyd is in the house, and of course, I'm here, Jim Carroll, and we're going to be talking about something that is very, very important to all of us, and that has to do with branding. So, Boyd, unless you've got anything special to say, let's just jump right in.
Okay, so what I wanted to talk about today is, we've talked about content before, and we've talked about it several times over the past few months. But what I wanted to talk about today was different ways you can get content without having to create it always yourself. And so, it's kind of a fun thing that we did a big I think it was like 58-minute presentation on this. So if you want to see the whole training, you can go to our YouTube channel, and I'll give you that at the end. But here's the thing: there's a lot of different ways you can use content that you don't have to create. Now you may have to massage it a little, excuse me, but that's it. Now the first one I'm going to tell you about is curated content. And people say, well, what's that? Well, that's using somebody else's content and saying, ooh, I really like this. I want to tell you about it. And there's a couple ways you can do that. So one of them is if you see an article that somebody's written, Entrepreneur Magazine or Founder Magazine or whoever it might be, or maybe just somebody had it in their blog, you can actually refer to it and say, I love this. And if you do that, it actually raises your worth to the customer because they know that you're not always about you and what you say.
That was such a great word. I was waiting for it to come out of your mouth. The worth or value really of that content. And there's an SEO benefit across the board. First of all, because you're restating somebody else's content, they get a little bit of an SEO bump. And then, of course, because you've cited it and you're using it, you get a bit of an SEO bump. So across the board, it helps a great deal to use curated content. There's a couple of sites, and I never tried and make this self-serving, but there's a couple of sites that you can see examples. And there's a site called Reduce-Anxiety, and another one called Reduce-Depression. Both of those sites are networking sites or marketing sites is what I want to say. And we're using curated content across the board in their blogs, referencing other articles that were found out on the internet, and then forwarding those to our end user or our end client. So we're using, those are great examples of where have curated content out in the world or content out in the world. We use it as curated content or abbreviated content on our site and then link that to our actual end user, our end client. So you can see that there's multiple ways to use it. And that's a good example of both of those sites. And you can see it actually in action. So that's.
Yep. Now, one of the things that I want to give you fair warning about, there are a couple of things that you must do when you're going to do that. Always reference who you're using the content from. So if it's from in his case, maybe it's a doctor who's written some article. Maybe it's a study that they're referencing. Be sure to reference that and say, this was a study done by the LC, whoever it is. And that's what
in this particular case, I think it was several articles from WebMD. So we are referencing a doctor, and he's written about depression and ways to combat it. And I'm just going to say physical exercise and eat right and all that stuff. But we referenced his article that he wrote. We abbreviated it and forwarded that link on. So it's working on the link building as well as it's coming from an authority figure.
Good. Now, the other thing that you need to be careful of is if you're using this on social media and you want to use the graphic image, and I do recommend use the graphic image that they are using, you can use that even if they've purchased it from someone else. But you must put in there that this is from that company. If you don't give them credit for it, that company that you're using the image of may come back and say, you can't use that. Only they could because they purchased it. But if you're referencing them and sending people to their website, you're good. So
for clarity's sake, are you referencing, iStock images, or are you referencing the person that used their image originally?
Yeah. So you reference the company that is using the image. Okay. So if it's an iStock image, but it's or Getty image or any of those, and but it's Entrepreneur Magazine that you're referring to, then just simply put on there that this article is from Entrepreneur Magazine and refer to them there. And then if they come back and say, no, you can't use it, you can say, I am promoting that article, and they can't do much about it because they purchased it for their use and you're promoting their place. Let's go on to the next one because we're going to run short of time if we're not careful. Okay, so one of the things that I love to see is customer reviews. You can utilize these over and over. You don't have to write anything, and now it's someone else talking about you. Whether that's a review or a testimonial, it doesn't matter. But a review actually gives you, when you put that in there, if it's a Google review, Google likes that so much that they give you double credit for having the review and having this. And so that's really a good thing to have. And just simply, if somebody's willing to be on camera saying it, great. If they're not, just simply copy and paste it onto an image or something where you can then send it out. But be sure to put their first name and their initial, or their first initial and their last name. If you don't, people don't trust it. And so, but it's something to use. And so customer reviews are a great thing. And of course, it's somebody else talking about you rather than you talking about you.
Which is always your favorite topic, talking about you.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. Yes. Okay. Now, I have one that I loved doing. I did a contest when I was running the community newspapers, and it was, where do you read your journal? And what we did was it was a contest for the first few months, and then we didn't even need to have the contest. People just wanted to send in their photos. So what we did was we had people take pictures of themselves when they were reading their newspaper that we had distributed. Well, we'd get a few in the first week. The second week, we got a few more. By 3 months, we were getting 100 a week, and we were posting these all to our social media and to our website, and it became a huge thing. Now, here's the thing. If somebody sends you a photo of them using your product or service or talking about you, what are they going to do? They're going to tell their friends, their family, everyone else to go and, hey, go see what they're saying, what I said about them. And before long, it becomes, they start following your site as well. So you can pick up on social media a lot of extra followers by doing this. Now, I find that doing like with our newspaper, it was really fun. I mean, we had people going all over the world with our newspaper. So we saw them in Peru at the top of the Andes. We saw them in London at the Heathrow Airport. We saw them on the beach of Japan. It was all over the place. But it was great content and I didn't have to do anything but copy take the picture and post it. And that was it. And we had, I also put the caption that they would put with it. And it was great. And I didn't have to spend a lot of time doing it. Okay. So another one is getting some professional or regular videos done. But if you have a professional do it, yes, you're the one sitting in front of the camera a lot of times. But one of the key things is they're going to do the interviewing. They're going to do the massaging of it, and then you can post it. Now, don't do this every month, but do it often. And it will help you because once people see that from time to time you're using professional photography, they like that. So that's a good one. All right. Another one I'm going to talk about is, just a minute, I got to pull up my thing, is, any of your own blogs. If you put a blog up on your website, then all you have to do is take the first couple paragraphs and the title of it, and you put that onto the image you're using with the blog, and you've got your content. And you just simply say at the end of the 2 paragraphs, to continue reading this, go to, and then give them the address. Now, if it's a great big long address, then get it shrunk down using Bitly or something else. I use pretty links on my own website, so it always says bpmedia.com/whatever I tell it to be. And it makes it so that I'm always branding myself that way. But doing your own blogs and case studies are really good. And so do that. And Jim, you've had some experience with that, haven't you?
You know, absolutely we have. And I tend to think of the world in terms of SEO. And obviously, if you can post your brand out there and truncate your blog and then drive it in a link inbound. And I tend to think of links. So you've got a social media post, you have an inbound link, whether you use Bitly or not, it still counts. And I've been using tiny links lately, so I've been fascinated with that particular one. But the whole point is to make it easy for the consumer to follow that link back to your article. And so then all of a sudden you start to generate, if you put it on 7 or 8 social media platforms, you could have 7 or 8 inbound new links. Because each of those will count as a new link because they're coming from a different platform. So use the abbreviated content and then drive it to your website with your link, or the website where you put your links, and you're going to get some SEO benefit out of that as well.
Yep. So those are some ideas that we have for doing some of these, content that you don't have to actually do anything more about. But they're very good. Now, here, one more that I'm going to tell you, and then we're going to be done. And it's reposting hot content. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that it's something that is particularly specific to your industry, but maybe it's hot content that you're finding. Maybe it's something that's happening. Maybe it's anything that's really trending right now is what this would be. And you can repost it just like you do the curated one. But because curated, when we were talking about that, it is very specific to what you're doing. But where hot content can be, I can't believe this is happening. Mm-hmm. Now, that I've seen that. I saw one the other day that I thought was very clever, and it was this horse doing some fabulous things at a show that was for horses, but they were saying no other horse has done this in the past. And it had over 1 million hits on it. Well, the customer I was telling about, she's a horse person. She put it up, and her business has nothing to do with horses. It has all about kitchens and organizing your kitchen. She put this horse video up, and she picked up about 200 or 300 people who now follow her kitchen thing because she put that horse thing up. Now, the key is, yes, sometimes you'll get some people who will say, oh, I thought you were going to do more about horses, and so they'll drop off. That's okay, because they got at least to see your name for a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so the next time they see your name, they're going to remember that you do kitchens, mm-hmm. and that's it.
The one thing when you started to talk about hot topics, I thought about the new virus that's coming out of South Africa, and how much information I've seen, how much information we don't know that I've seen about that that's come across the wire in the last few days. It's been mind-numbing how much, I want to say how much we really don't know that we don't know. Right. But it's a hot topic. Everybody's talking about it. Everybody's throwing it out there. So,
yeah. Now, one thing I do recommend is don't do two things. Don't talk about politics or anything that's a hot topic with politics, and don't do any hot topic about religion. Those are the two things you don't talk about at Thanksgiving. They're the two things you don't talk about on social media.
Wait, why don't you talk about them at Therksgiving?
Can polarize.
I'm just teasing.
Because it could end up in a food fight.
Oh, my. All right, everyone.
Anyway,
thank you
for being here.
Yep. Remember, we do this 3 times a week on Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. And Boyd, what do we talk about?
So on Mondays, we're all about marketing, and that's what this is today. On Wednesdays, we're talking about taking your business to the next level. And sometimes we have coaches on. Sometimes we have business owners that have taken it, or somebody who has something new that they have learned how to take a business to the next level. Then on Fridays, we have It's All About Entrepreneurship. And that's really a cool one because we talk about before you start your business, after you start your business. Sometimes we interview people who have started their business, and we ask them the hard question of what would you have liked to have known before you started your business. And it's always fun to see what they say. Oh, I didn't know this. And I'm going, okay, that's a good one to know.
How did you not know that? How could you not know that? Exactly.
You know, and there's enough classes out there, you should know that. But, you know, it's interesting because sometimes the nuances change as to, like we had a person on a few weeks ago and he was saying, well, I wish I had known that I shouldn't be a sole proprietor. Well, you know, we've had people on who've talked about different organizations that you can use. One of the problems with a company I used to work with was they were a sole proprietor, and in the medical industry, no one will ever talk to you about your product until you're a corporation. Because if you're a sole proprietor, you can be sued easily, and so can the company who's using it. But if you're using a corporate name, you've got to do it that way. Anyway, that's what we talk about on Fridays is entrepreneurship and all the things to do with getting businesses going. And that's what Entrepreneur Factory is all about.
Exactly. Very quickly, we'll have one more conference before the year's out. I think when this airs, we will have already had that conference, so you'll have to go back into Entrepreneur Factory and find it. Again, they stay up for a little while, and then we tuck them up underneath the umbrella, and you have to pay to see them. We'll be running the podcast through the holidays. We're trying to get backed up with enough guests that we can run fresh podcasts all through the holidays. Boyd was smiling there.
We won't have one on Christmas Eve through New Year's Day, but we will up to that point and after that. And so just understand that we will be doing that. Now, one other thing I was going to mention is if you would like to see the full training on this particular thing, the topic that we did a few weeks ago, you can go to bpmedia.com/YT, which is YouTube. And that's the quick link to get to it. So, and then you can go and see all the other things that we have there as well.
Okay.
So anyway, thank you very much.
Thanks for joining us.
I hope you have a wonderful week.
You got it. Have a good one.